This is episode 5 of Talk Magic to Me for April 9th, 2014. Welcome everyone to Talk Magic to Me, the critical discussion podcast that discusses all things Disney. I'm one of your hosts, Danielle.
I'm Prince Eric.
And I'm DJJD. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, only 3 of us to this time.
Yeah, only 3 of us. Jen is currently absent, but for a very good reason. She has another podcast called The Enlightened Podcast. It's about a show that's on HBO, or was on HBO, but was canceled after 2 seasons. And she's recording that tonight with a very special guest, an actual actor from the show.
Wowzers.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So you guys, it is really cool. So you guys like HBO, you'll probably like Enlightened if you haven't watched it already. Because I started watching it, it's a very good show. And you should check out her podcast on iTunes. It's good.
And then go back and watch Game of Thrones.
Please do. Well, at this point, this episode will be out after Game of Thrones premieres, season 4, episode 1. I'm so pumped.
Whew, can't wait.
It's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm skipping. I watched a show called Shameless on Showtime, and their season finale is the same night.
Ooh, nope.
I'm watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, nope.
I haven't watched one of the Game of Thrones shows live yet.
Oh wow, it's gonna be the first.
No, it's kind of weird actually.
Yeah.
But it's a first for everything.
There is. There always is.
I know. I tried to get Eric into Game of Thrones.
So
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It just didn't click. I remember I thought it was okay. It just didn't click.
Well, I'm going to bring that up later in this episode, and I know you will like what I'm going to say about it, Eric. When you left for a second before we started recording, and I mentioned it to JD a little bit, but even JD doesn't know exactly what I'm going to say. You'll be surprised too.
I might.
Okay, so before we get into everything, I have a quick announcement for our listeners. We do this podcast, because we love Disney. We're doing it purely for fun reasons. We would love this to be our career, podcasting.
That'd be pretty sweet.
It would. It would be great. But unfortunately, we all do have lives outside of this podcast. And we hope to put money toward it soon, but unfortunately we don't necessarily have that money, and we're hoping that possibly you guys could help us out a bit. We have a donate button on our website. If you could just donate $5 to our podcast, that would be really appreciated. Now you don't have to. You could just spread the word about our podcast, try to get the word out there, get people listening, but donations help. Yeah, they really help because we have a time limit on our host website, and if we don't pay our host website soon, we won't be able to make podcasts anymore, and that makes us very sad.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you guys like our podcasts, you don't need to donate much. $5. Like, if everybody donated $5, our 6 listeners... we could have $30.
Whoa!
But that would go to our podcast. Like, don't worry, we're not gonna spend the money on Game of Thrones DVDs.
I don't even think that would be enough.
Use the $30 and go to Chipotle.
That's pretty much what you could use it for.
Oh god. Yeah, Chipotle or half a Game of Thrones season.
Yeah, about half a Game of Thrones season.
Yeah, so we're going to use the money honestly. We're going to put it toward the podcast. It would really mean a lot to us. And again, you don't have to, but $5, it's not that much money. I donated $5 to a podcast I love the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what if they just like us?
Also, that's a good idea. Yeah, exactly. What JD just said. Here I am pushing money on you guys.
Yeah.
Even just liking us and reviewing us.
There you go.
That's a huge help to us. Mm-hmm. It gets people to notice us when you like us. Especially when you rate and review us on iTunes. Because then we will come up in the similar podcasts when people listen to certain podcasts. our podcast will pop up as well, so that they might start listening to us.
Yeah.
So, it would mean a great deal. So, yeah, that's my message for you guys.
Mm.
We don't want to force you to do anything, but it would
Do it.
It would be a help, Eric.
Yeah, that was me.
Yes, do it, as Eric says. But you don't have to, but it would be appreciated.
Be nice.
It would.
Please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you. And another thing, before we get into our podcast, is we got some more feedback.
Hooray!
It is. It's a happy day.
I hope it's good feedback and not poop feedback.
Well, it's very good feedback.
Good.
It is from a user on Tumblr, yet another dumb blogger. We don't think you're dumb.
No, that's their name.
Yeah.
That's not
I
like
know,
what
yeah, I
we
know.
think.
Yet another dumb blogger. God.
Yeah, those dumb bloggers. Just another one.
Yes, Eric.
My word.
Yes, No, don't worry, I didn't actually think you were dumb. Yet another dumb blogger asked, or says, really, your blog is hella rad, and your podcast is amazing. I love you.
It's actually, it says ILY, and when I read
Yeah.
that, I read it as, your podcast is amazing, illy, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
He thought that was some hip new slang, yo.
Yeah.
Amazingly. Like, I thought it was something like that. But there's a space there, I didn't know.
Man.
Illy, that's internet language for I love you.
Yes, indeed.
So, thank you very much. That means a lot to us.
Much
It really does.
appreciated.
It is much
Mhm.
appreciated. And this same user asked us, also on Tumblr, they asked us if we have a little schedule up for what we're going to be posting. And we do. I will announce our next 5 episodes right now.
Whoa.
Are we ready? I know, 5 episodes.
Like, gasp.
Goes
Then-
through episode 10.
I know. Can you believe it? And we'll be having a party that day for sure.
Woo!
And after episode 10, we even have a surprise.
Oh.
But getting away from the surprise, we'll announce that later. For our next episode, we're going to be talking about Pinocchio.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh.
second. Yeah, that's the second Disney film. Then we'll be talking about a Disney short film called Paperman.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that is your choice, JD.
Yeah.
Then we have Fantasia.
Ooh.
Right on.
Yeah,
I'll do a lot about that. That'll be mine.
I'm excited for that.
Right
That'll
on.
be awesome. Then we'll be talking about Angels in the Outfield,
Ooh.
which is Eric's choice.
Angels in the outfield.
Yeah.
With the Christopher Lloyd one?
Yes.
Not because I guess the original one wasn't Disney.
The original one you're the first person I ever heard mention it, so.
Yeah, I've never actually seen it. I just know that there is an original one.
I didn't even
Oh.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, finally, our 10th episode, we're going to talk about Dumbo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dumbo.
Yeah, Dumbo. That's the 4th Disney animated film.
That it is.
Yeah, so that is our schedule for the next 5 episodes. So we look forward to it. We hope you guys look forward to it too.
I will.
Yeah, I know I will too.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Okay, I'm actually really excited for Angels in the Outfield as well.
That I don't
Fantasia.
think I've ever seen, so that'll be
Oh,
interesting.
really?
Mm-mm.
Ooh.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's a genuinely good movie.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it is the time of the episode where we talk about what happened on this day in Disney history.
Woo!
Yay! Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this day in Disney history, April 9th, in 1938, Snow White and Dopey appeared on the cover of this day's issue of Liberty magazine. And the April 9th edition features the article The Story Behind Snow White's $10 million surprise party. That's the episode name. Or the episode name. Article name. I'm in the podcast mood.
Jeez.
Then, I'm skipping way ahead after that, to 2006. Expedition Everest, Journey into Sacred Lands, airs on the Travel Channel. The special takes a look at Disney World's newest and most elaborate attraction, Expedition Everest.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe that? It came out so long ago.
Yeah.
2006. I remember when they were building that. Because that was on a Disney, like, you know those DVDs they send out to you
Yeah.
every year about the park, yeah? They had that.
I remember there was like stuff on the Disney Channel where they would like go to it and like show behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough.
And then finally, in 2012, this is a really cool fact, the Turnstile clicks for the 100th day in a row for Disney fans Jeff Reitz, I think you pronounce his last name, and Tanya Mikish. They are a couple continuing a streak of visiting Disneyland every day in 2012.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they were annual pass holders, and they originally got the idea to visit every day in 2012 because Disneyland announced they would be open 24 hours on the leap day, because that was the day of the leap year, or the year of the leap year. So they went 366 days, which is awesome.
Man, how much extra money do they have?
Seriously.
It's like, okay.
It'd be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
But you might be broke.
Yeah, I'm like, they must have some good money.
Yeah, seriously.
Came into an inheritance or something.
You have to look up if they have a blog or something about that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be. Alright, so that is our This Day in Disney History. Yay.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not doing Jen's theme park corner today, partly because Jen's not here.
No!
I know, don't we miss that? But then again, we already went over it.
How will I ever know what's in the theme parks now?
Just listen to our last Frozen episode, JD. It's okay.
It's not the same!
It's okay. Calm down. Calm down.
I can't.
It's okay.
Love is over.
It's still around.
Nope,
Love is still here.
It's not. It's gone. It's over.
Well, don't worry.
Okay.
It's here.
House of Mouse.
Don't worry. Well, we're gonna, yes, House of Mouse here at the House of Mouse, or Talk Magic to me, however you want to say it.
Okay.
We are going to discuss Frozen some more today, and we'll discuss love in Frozen. I have some stuff written down about love, so don't you worry, JD.
All right.
Love is still here.
Love is not over. Okay.
Love is not over.
All right. Good.
Love
I
is an
hope
open
not.
door.
Good to.
Would that be a pun? Am I really punny like Eric?
No, you stop.
Oh, yeah.
You stop that right now. We're not doing this two podcasts in a row. It ain't happening.
All right. I'll try to keep things cool.
Good one. Now I commend you on that one.
I
That was
fell
good.
right into that one too. I knew
She's
it was
learning
coming.
for that
I knew
one.
it.
I'm really proud of myself.
You shouldn't
Okay.
be, but all right now.
How dare you? No, just kidding. Okay. So, yeah, the reason we're doing another Frozen episode, because we originally did not intend to do this episode. We had another topic planned, but once we finished recording our first Frozen episode, we finished, and I went to bed that night thinking there's so much more I still want to talk about. And so I texted everybody on this podcast, and I said to them, we should record a bonus episode, because, quite frankly, I'm not finished with Frozen. And they all were like, yeah, okay, yes, and that's why we're here. Except Jen. But that's okay. She's
Yeah.
all that matters. So, yeah, I have a few topics written down here for our discussion. It should be a very nice episode.
Let's
Okay.
find out, shall we?
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's dive in then.
Okay.
Alright, so let's get into our discussion. The first topic of discussion I'm going to bring up is something that Eric...
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, something that I thought of, and then I was looking at Eric's notes because we do Google Docs, and I saw that he wrote something about it too, and then neither of us brought it up in the Frozen episode.
Way to go.
Because I guess we were talking about so many other things, and we were tired. So, it's okay. But now we're going to talk about it now. So, the thing we were talking about was the way Frozen ends. We see the sisterly love portion, and we see the ice melt all around them, and Elsa saves the day. Or, well, Anna saves the day, but Elsa melts all the snow away.
Yeah.
And then we see Hans. I guess he's on the boat with them when the boat rises up from the water.
Yeah, magically.
Yeah. And I forget what he says to her or to Anna, but she reaches over and she punches him, and he falls off the boat into the water.
And all the people cheer for him.
Yes, actually, why don't you say how you feel about that first? Right?
Right, so the scene we're talking about is, I think everybody knows by now, it's the part towards the end when Hans is revealed to be the bad guy, and Anna goes up to him and says the thing about, oh, the only one here with a frozen heart is you, and then she turns around and she turns back around and she just punches him right in the face, and he falls in the water, and everybody goes, ha ha ha, and everybody, like, claps and applauds, and it's supposed to be a, like, good, positive scene, and it really sort of bothered me when I watched this, because I always thought that, and I understand that they're just cartoons, but everybody sees these cartoons as real people because they're portrayed as real people. It's not like they're supernatural talking animals or anything like that. They're seen, Anna and Hans were seen as real people, and people react to them like real people. It just bothered me because if you switched the genders around and you had a guy punching a girl and everybody applauded for it, even if the girl was the villain in this case, a lot of people would have a problem with that because it's showing violence towards women, and I don't like that we're desensitizing ourselves to violence towards guys. And a lot of if you look up that scene on YouTube, a lot of the YouTube comments say things like, oh, Hans, that jerk, he deserved what he got, when what everybody says every time there's any type of domestic violence or anything where the woman is hurt, oh, nothing a woman can do will ever make her deserve being hurt physically. Well, you're saying that he can do something that deserves him being hurt, so why is it that women don't? I'm saying that men should never be deserving of violence, no matter what they're doing, and a lot of people are saying what Hans did deserved the violence against him, and I don't like that.
I agree. Well, how do you respond to that, JD, before I say my part?
I mean, I disagree because I think that, he had it coming. He just did. He just had it coming. I was like, the least he could do, really, like, he got away pretty easy just getting a punch in the face. And I guess he got thrown in. We don't even know if he got thrown in jail or not. He just said, "Oh, his brother."
No, he probably. A lot.
Yeah,
right. A lot worse probably did happen.
Yeah,
he just got a punch in the face. Then,
yeah,
it just, you know what I'm saying? Like, we make such a big deal about how nothing. A girl could like light your house on fire, and if you got mad and like pushed her, you would still say nothing she does deserves being hurt. Yet you're saying that Hans can do something that deserves him being hurt. So I'm saying, why is there a double standard of, why is there allowable things where men can be hurt but not where women can be hurt? And I'm saying that nobody should be allowed to be hurt, and there's never a deserving force in anybody having violence acted upon them.
I think that depends on the circumstance, because, again, with everything that, Hans did, I'm like, a punch in the face is really nothing. It's just kind of getting your frustration out on everything he did. It's like, sometimes you have to, you have to do it. Sometimes, like, have you ever just had the urge to, I don't know, hit something? Not that you hit anyone, but you just get angry and you're just like, I just gotta take my frustration out on this pillow. Or, something. People just do that. It's just a natural thing. You can be angry, and so it's okay.
I would, Well, I would say, yeah, you're totally right about that. I think, though, for me personally, it's not so much like, I agree that, sometimes you're frustrated and you take your anger out on people.
And it's not even like he was really hurt. He got punched and he was like, ugh. And he's like a big, strong dude, and Anna's like, what, 100 pounds soaking wet? So it didn't even hurt him, probably. Well,
the thing that I take issue with this is kind of like, I take issue with it like Eric, but not for the same reasons. Mm-hmm. I know I read somewhere on Tumblr where somebody said, like, oh, it's nice to see that this person is confronting her attacker and punching them, but to me, it's more this idea that this constant kind of thing that we tell our kids that violence is wrong. And, and I know what Hans did is wrong.
It was.
That's completely true. But I think if we're going to teach our kids, and this is not just Frozen, by the way, tons of Disney movies do this, where...
I mean, I'm watching about Tangled, she's constantly hitting him in the face with the frying pan.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, I find that, you know, if you're going to say violence is wrong, but then you say, well, it's okay if this in this situation, and it's like almost making an excuse.
Well, you gotta
Right.
remember, too, violence is hilarious sometimes. You have to look at Tom and Jerry, look at Looney Tunes. Violence is funny. Like, you can't, just for whatever reason, if used in the right situation, it can be funny. When she's hitting, like when Rapunzel hits, Flynn in the face with the frying pan, and it's funny. You're supposed to laugh. It's not it's not saying, hey, go out and hit people with a frying pan, kids. Like, it's okay. It's just, no, it's funny. Kids know not to do that. It's a funny thing because it's not a real world.
Yeah, I would say I agree with
Well,
that.
no, I disagree. I
For Tangled.
don't. Tangled did get... Yeah.
I would agree with Tangled.
For Tangled.
But the thing is that people see Hans and Anna as real people. Tom and Jerry were seen as cartoon characters. Hans and Anna aren't seen as cartoon characters. They're seen as real people that people relate to and see as, in one YouTube comment they can say... oh my god, Anna is such a great role model for girls. I'm so glad what they did with her character. Yet, in the next one, if you complain about how people like that Hans got hit, they're saying, what, it's just a cartoon, people don't take it seriously. Really? Because in all the other comments, you sure are taking it seriously. You're saying, you're talking about Anna and these characters like they're real people in all the other comments. So why, I don't think you can selectively... You know what I mean? Selectively in certain situations say, well, I don't see them as real people here, but I do here. And everybody said, oh, Hans got what he deserved. So does that mean if a woman does something bad, she can be hit and get what she deserves and have society look at it that way? No, society would say a woman never deserves to be hit or hurt no matter what it is that she did, and it's never deserving. I don't know why the same isn't true for men.
Well, that's just an old society thing. Like, that's a whole other can of worms.
So just like we can agree that there is a double standard.
Of course, there's always going to be.
Okay, that was my point. That was my point.
Yeah, there's always going to be a double
and that was
standard.
the issue I had with it.
Right.
Well, what I just wanted to say also is, I guess for me, like, I know that we want to see the good guy get the revenge in the end. And we see this constantly, not just in Disney movies, but in the end when we see our good guy coming back and, like, a lot of times, I hate to say it, but we see it even in, like, Harry Potter, we'll see it.
Yeah.
Where the good guy will come back and take revenge on the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not strictly Harry Voldemort, but, other bad guys. And I just think that if we're teaching our kids, to respect people, that maybe forgiveness is possible, that we're trying to instill these things in our children. And then we have these movies that are showing, everybody has bad days, and yes, I'm not going to say that, oh, it's just a bad day for Hans, he'll pick it up tomorrow. No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that if we're going to preach this idea, or I shouldn't say preach, but teach kids this idea of forgiveness and loving one another, and being friends with one another, and, like, saying, oh, everybody messes up, people, like, they get confused in life, then I don't understand why they still have this in films, where they say, well, this person messed up, so I'm going to physically hurt him.
Well,
yeah.
Because there are whether you like it or not, there's always going to be people who are going to want to, at some point they may try to harm you. In some way. Maybe you don't want to, but maybe they... Alright, like, let's take, because this is a big thing in, say, superhero stories. So, someone comes after your family, what are you going to do? Just sit back and be like, oh, that's okay. Let them take my aunt and, do whatever to them. I'll forgive them for it. Like, you're only human. You have to go, you care about those people. You want to fight for them and fight for whatever. So it's just, I think that's just a human thing.
I get that, but even if you switch the gender roles,
Right.
if Anna was the bad guy and went after Hans's and brother who was the king, just so that she could, and she was seen getting punched like that, and everybody applauded for it, a lot of people would have a problem with it because it's showing positive reinforcement for violence against women. Yet nobody has a problem with this because they say he deserved it. But a woman can never deserve it no matter what they do, even if they did the same thing. That's my point, is that nobody should deserve it. Harry Potter, a big point was that when Harry could have killed Peter Pettigrew, and he had every right to, and he said, no, he can go to Azkaban, my parents wouldn't have wanted me to be a killer.
Right.
That was showing you how to deal with it in the right way. And they should have done that. Anna should have just said, and they should have just shown him being taken off and carried off. That was just another thing that I saw with the whole female bias part, was that, you know, it was the strong woman punching the jerk guy that broke up with her, like that type thing.
I mean, also that doesn't get to happen very often anyway, so it was another, this doesn't get to happen very often, so here you go.
Also, I believe this was and I'm not saying anything, I believe this was the first Disney animated movie to be directed by a woman, if I'm not mistaken.
It was directed Jennifer something.
I think they said it was the first one, though.
No, I think you're right.
It probably is.
Jennifer.
So
Lee.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just this. I think that that fact had some influence in it. Not that that's how every woman would have done it, but this woman, if she had not been the director, I don't think it would have had that same tone with it.
I think you can say that.
And
about
that's her
anything.
That's her specific. No, you're right.
Yeah.
And that's
it's just her tone, like her specific way she told the story. But I don't think it's like. I don't know it's necessarily biased towards one or another. Like, I think if you had a dude in there, I don't know what would have really been that different. Like, I think it depends on the script.
But it's the fact that they didn't.
Well, also, like, you just mentioned superhero movies. I don't usually like to say this, but I think there's a big difference between a Disney movie and the movies you see on TV that are things like superhero movies are. Because Disney, to me, I love when Disney reveals truths in the world, but I don't find that Disney often depicts our reality. It more depicts our inner reality. And so, like, if I'm watching a superhero movie, I'm fully aware that, like, revenge is a human nature kind of thing. For Disney, I sort of expect... I don't know, some kind of moral thing.
Would you say a Disneyfication sort of thing?
Sort of, yes, and I know you're right. They were bending the Disneyfication thing, but I think that and right now I'm blanking. I wish I wrote it down, but I know Disney has done this where they use this revenge tactic of violence. You hear violence is not the answer all the time, and it just annoys me that it's teaching kids, violence is not the answer, but look up to these people. And
if you're a girl and a guy does this to you, then it's okay.
Well, I think the issue with that whole thing is that a lot of girls are associating Anna and Hans with bad breakups they've had.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's the big, that's why I think that's an issue.
Which is fine.
I think it is, because it's teaching them that the guy's always completely at fault and they never did anything wrong, which is how it was portrayed in the movie.
Well, Eric, you're a very good person, I'd say. You're a very good person. I think there are a lot lot of guys out there. And so are you, JD, by the way.
I was like, okay,
thank you
whatever.
very much.
No, I'm evil. So it's true. It's true.
I was going to say, because
flatter me.
JD wouldn't do something like that either. But there are guys out there that do stuff like that. And unfortunately, I think there are more guys that do take advantage than don't.
I agree.
So I think that's why people are responding this way.
A YouTube comment I saw on a video that was about how the video was this person describing why they didn't like Frozen.
Yeah.
And one of the comments said it was a very very sexist movie. All of the females were victims and all of the men were either dopey or jerks and murderers. That's what they said, and they're right. All of the girls in the movie were victims of something. Elsa, nothing was her fault. She was a victim of not being able to control her powers, and you were supposed to feel bad for her because she was just trying to protect her sister. And Anna was just a victim of what Hans did, even though that, regardless of what Hans did, her agreeing, saying yes to him marrying her, him asking her to marry him, she could have said no. I mean, that was a stupid decision whether he turned out to be a bad guy or not. Yeah. Yet they never addressed that, because that would have been seen as victim blaming.
I don't know, because I mean, I feel that as well, like, but I don't think that it's entirely, like, I see the whole guy perspective, that all the guys in the film aren't seen in a very good way. And as for Anna and Elsa, and okay, even Kristoff, I wouldn't say Kristoff's in a totally negative way.
No.
But,
no, I would think he is.
Well, I think he is in somewhat, but not entirely. Like,
he's not shown, like, he's not shown in a fair way.
No.
He's shown as once again, like I said during our last Frozen episode, he's seen as girls see guys not how they actually are. His guyness is exaggerated. His disgustingness and how he smells bad, and that whole song that describes all of those things about him, that's exaggerated. It wasn't shown in a realistic way.
But what we talked about last time when I said that this was, and again, I hate to say this, like, 'cause I usually think that any gender can enjoy any film, but I read an article yesterday about how people, like writers, will appeal to the different sexes. And this film, I mean, obviously we have a female director, and they included things in here that I picked out in this article I read that definitely appeals to females more, and that could be one of them.
Yeah, but that, again,
I agree.
I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree. It's just that was one of the reasons I didn't like the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched Beauty and the Beast again. I watched it twice because I hadn't seen it in a really long time, and I forgot how great it was. And I watched that again. I watched The Lion King again, and it's just, I don't think that this movie holds up to it all. Those movies were masterpieces. Those movies were like almost perfect pieces of Disney animation and Disney movies, what Disney was supposed to be. And these movies never, I don't think Frozen even comes, I don't even know why people are even talking about it in that way. I forgot how much I love Beauty and the Beast and why it is that I liked it, despite the fact that there's the main character is a girl, but it's not shown in a girl biased way because there's realistic emotions in it. The Beast is a guy, her father's a guy, and they're shown in a realistic way.
I think the thing is, and I know JD, you and Jen both said that you were thinking this would be the new Renaissance.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And I think, well, yeah, it is technically. And the thing is, I love the Disney Renaissance films, from Little Mermaid to Tarzan.
Who doesn't?
I think they are better than any films Disney has ever made.
Yes.
And that might partially be that I'm biased because I grew up with them. I mean, we all did.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think that they are better than Frozen. But that being said, I think Frozen and then Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph is my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, so is mine.
Pretty hype.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I think those films have a unique style that is unique to this generation.
Exactly.
Like, I think, this generation is going to look back at their Renaissance films like we look back at ours.
Exactly.
But I don't think they're as good, though.
I think objectively looking at it, if you were a filmmaker that was an adult then and still an adult now, you would objectively looking at it say that those movies were better. I mean, watch the beginning of The Lion King. I forgot how artistic that was, and how there's not a single word of dialogue spoken in like the first 5-6 minutes all throughout Circle of Life, and just all the amazingly drawn settings of the African plains and all of the animals that are coming together, and just the way that that's all shown was done so well. And Danielle, you had your Disney your favorite moment in Disney animation was the beginning of Beauty and the Beast with the waterfall and that mysterious, magical music. That da 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 dee da da dee. That, and I forgot about just how much those colors pop out at you and just how mysterious that looked and how much you wanted to see what happened. And just, I forgot about how well crafted and well made those films were. And another thing that those films did that this film did not do is that those films stayed, other than, in my opinion, not being genderly biased, which turned me off to this movie, and that's only my opinion, these films stayed true to a certain culture throughout the whole movie.
Yes,
Beauty and the Beast stayed true to the French culture and the French music sound throughout the whole movie, with the Gaston song, with Be Our Guest, with there's there's something there that wasn't there before, whatever that song's called. Then throughout the whole movie, Lumiere's French accent, it was all shown. And that other, I don't know what it's called, the duster, that had a French accent.
I can't think of her name, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? The French culture was there and present. The LaFou, Gaston, they all had French. Maurice, they were all French names. In The Lion King, all of the names were based on African words. Rafiki, Sarabi, Mufasa, Simba, Nala. They were all in that culture, and all of the songs were created using African-sounding instruments, African percussion, and they used what's called the marimba, which is a very dark-sounding wooden. You would think of it as a xylophone, but it's not a xylophone. It has wooden bars and has this very woody sound to it. It's the beginning of Hakuna Matata. That when Timon's singing at the very beginning, you hear that wood-sounding xylophone in the background. All of them had a very African style to it that I think that Frozen just kind of wanted to make money, so it just had a bunch of generic-sounding pop songs that could be shared on YouTube that didn't stay close to any culture.
Well, also, what you just said, first of all, again, that sort of answers the fact that this is like their Renaissance film again, because they probably did think of that, unfortunately, like, oh, what can we get that people will listen to on YouTube, like, time and time again. And
I think that's okay.
They wrote songs that could be covered on YouTube.
It's just smart business.
Well, not to get out of the culture thing, but I do wonder if, and both of you can answer this. Do you think a film is good based on its popularity?
No.
Or
yes and no.
And why is that?
I say yes because depending on like in Frozen's case with all the pop songs and stuff, like it's created something, like it's created like a whole movement, and the weather didn't help either, so all these weird random factors came in because I would say if like we didn't have this weird freaky weather, Frozen wouldn't be as popular as it is. It was just this weird circumstantial thing. And so it's not, I don't think, the movie is probably elevated to a certain amount of greatness, probably more than it should be. But I think that's okay. Because, as long as people, I don't know, as long as you enjoy it to an extent, like as long as you can agree and disagree and all this sort of stuff. Whereas, a great movie is just a great movie. Like, you can talk about it, it'll never get old. Like, Frozen, in 30 years, it'll probably just be a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
Lion King it'll always
That's
be
a classic story.
Yeah.
It's a classic movie. And another thing that, and I agree with most of the things that you just said. One thing that I remembered when I was watching these movies again is the amount of intelligence that those movies had versus Frozen. Just in how the characters are portrayed, how they act. I mean, you watch Beauty and the Beast, and Danielle, I want to tell you that you were correct when I questioned when you said that the Beast was cursed at age 11. I just want to let you know,
yeah.
just in front of everybody, you were right. They do say that in the movie, because at the beginning, when they're describing the curse, they say the petal will fall on the dawning of his 21st year. And during Be Our Guest, Lumiere says, 10 years we've been as, transformed. So he was 11 years old then. If you just look at how Belle acts, and Bell's only supposed to be like 19, 20 years old.
I think 18.
The same 18, yeah, that's the same age as Anna, and a little bit younger than Elsa is. And just think of how much better, much more class she has, how much more intelligent she acts. And one thing I thought of, if that movie was never released then, and it was released exactly as it is now, would kids like it? And I don't think they would, because kids now have become so desensitized to older people acting immaturely from like YouTube and just what they see on TV and stuff, that they would be like, oh, who's this proper acting? They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't see her because as the way that we did, because they can't identify with intelligence, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's great about our Disney Renaissance films is that they did have that intelligence. Every single person on that team created something that was amazing. And they weren't trying to fit into a social structure, because I think you guys
Frozen
were talking
is.
about you were talking about the pop music, and then you started bringing up how there was 90s rap, and they never incorporated 90s rap obviously into Disney movies.
Right.
And, they were genuinely good movies.
I kind of wanted them to, like, just imagine
Yeah,
Hercules,
right. Well,
like, Philo just starts rapping or something. That would have been the best.
Well, see, that would have been funny, but I don't think it would have been...
It wouldn't have held up, no, but it would have been funny.
Yeah, right.
But, like,
yeah,
now,
I'd like to see a parody.
Yeah.
all of a sudden, now, like, before you had Belle taking care of the Beast, and at the end when she admits her love for the Beast, and she's just always acting in this classy, intelligent way, compared to now with Anna, the beginning of Love is an Open Door. Oh my god, can I say something crazy? Like, acting in this, like, Valley Girl, and, like, that's the main character. That's who you're supposed to like. That's not even, like, back then she would have been, like, the funny character that you made fun of. You know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't be the main character.
Yeah, it is a good point. I think a lot of... I hate to say it, against my own sex, but I think a lot of girls are sort of ditzy today.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing that Frozen did it, but at the same time, I kind of wish that they wouldn't, dumb themselves down for an audience, but it is Disney, as much as I hate to say that. It's Disney.
They've always tried to identify.
Right. I don't think they're trying to identify. They're just, like, bowing. They're just, like you said, they're putting themselves down on the level of society so that they can make money.
Which is the same thing with what we were talking about last time, almost with the CGI thing, with Home on the Range.
Right.
And how they, like...
Yeah.
Put themselves down.
Yeah.
And also,
So just if you,
because the voice actress, Kristen Bell is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
excellent.
Yeah, she was great. But she was the one who pushed for the way Anna acts, like, to be
really?
she really
Yeah, I
fought
heard
for
that too.
because she really wanted her to be a modern girl that girls can identify with and like.
Would you rather have one that girls can identify with, or one that girls can aspire to be? Because if you have one they can identify with, then then Disney is putting themselves on their level. I would rather have them, sort of have a better acting, idealistic girl that you're supposed to look up to.
I mean,
which is what Belle was, and everybody liked it then. But if you had her now, people wouldn't get it. People wouldn't like it.
I think you just have to change for the times. Like, they already did that. So let's do something else. Let's make them, relatable now, as opposed to idealized.
Well, see, here's the issue. Okay, so, we're talking about relatability a lot, and that's my real question is, should we make, as artists, should we make things that are purely based on relating to our audience or surrounding our audience, or should we make things that we think are just good and who cares what people think as long as it's a good product?
In this day and age, you just kind of have to just have to play it by ear. I feel like depends on what you want to do. I feel because it's just like the era that we live in. You have to be relatable to matter. Yeah. It just has to, like, let's take
That's
it,
a shame.
like, alright, I'll just go back to superheroes since that's what I know. People love Batman, alright? Yeah. Everyone loves Batman, and what is the thing they say about Batman? They're like, oh man.
I'm Batman.
Exactly.
Where is she? That's what they say.
They say they can relate to him, because they're like, oh, his parents got killed, and, he became a crowd. I can totally understand that. And then you talk about Superman, and they're like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Really, I think the most relatable one. I think is.
I've
always thought the most relatable one is Spiderman.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah, it's Spider-Man especially too. Like you're like, I can relate to him. That's me. That's the everyman.
I remember. Yeah, we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
I am Batman. Sorry,
I'm Batman.
And that's
we had to talk about that in high school once, like in one of our classes.
Like that's why they're so.
I think that like as filmmakers. Like as filmmakers, and I've done a lot of like studying of films on the internet, and looking at people reviewing films, and a lot of filmmakers that I follow and see how they come up with ideas. I think that relatability is less of a literal translation and more of an emotional one. You're supposed to relate to their emotions and what they're going through. Like Beauty and the Beast, you didn't relate to the literal setting of the Beast being locked in his castle and transformed into a beast, but you could relate to his emotion of hating what he looked like and thinking, oh, nobody will ever like me because look what I look like. Everybody thought like that. Everybody thought, oh, look, I'm so ugly. Nobody's ever going to like me. That's what everybody felt like. And so you're relating to the emotions of how they deal with their situations rather than their literal how they are. And I think that in Frozen they took it way too literally and tried to make the characters literally relatable rather than just their emotions relatable.
Well, also,
and situations.
Yeah, and that does make sense. And also, going back, tying that in with what JD said about Batman and Superman, I think for me, like, obviously, if I look at Batman, I can definitely feel I relate, but I don't relate in the sense of, like, obviously both my parents are alive. I'm not a billionaire. I don't have, I'm not super smart and know how to do all these cool things with technology, and I don't save the world. But
you don't? Oh, I swore I saw you last night.
Yeah, I thought you were doing that thing.
Stop it.
Okay, nope, secret identity. We ruined it.
You don't know it just yet. I mean, wait.
No, it's too late.
You didn't hear me say that.
It's too late.
Moving on. But, I relate to Batman for the sense of that he wants to do the right thing, and you see him constantly dealing with the struggle of, should I take revenge on these people that I hate, the mob who is constantly ruining my city, or should I, not give in to them, not use violence, and use my creative skill to be good and promote good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's how I would relate to Batman.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and now he says the thing about it's not who I am that's important, but what I do.
Right.
And I'm wondering, and this will get into a topic that I'm going to bring up a little later, but this film obviously, I don't know how much it says about social justices and things, but yeah.
What do you want? Justice.
I have justice for breakfast. I mean,
that was pretty
justice.
good.
That was pretty female Batman of you right there.
I am Batman.
Oh my god, that's better than I can do.
I know, I do a good Batman.
Batman's voice got really high for a second there. What's going on?
Thank you. I feel like Batman should be like an alternate personality on this podcast. Because I would love to do that.
On when I used to listen to a Mugglecast, this one guy would always do an impression of Hagrid. So he'd always say like, "Rubius Hagrid." I can't even do it. And so one time they kept advertising like, "Oh man, we're gonna have this." Like they were seriously saying this. They were like, "Oh man, we're gonna have this big person on Mugglecast next week. The biggest person we have ever had on Mugglecast. We're going to be interviewing the biggest person. This is going to be huge." And so they're like, okay, here it comes. Here's the interview. And they go to interview it, and all it was that guy calling in, like, doing the voice and being interviewed as Hagrid. They're like, yeah, see, he's the biggest person we've ever had on Mugglecast.
Oh my god.
Legit.
It was the fun, and I totally know. I'm like, no, it's gonna be Ben doing his Hagrid voice, and it was like on the phone doing it was so funny.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So, as we were talking about Batman, we think about a film, and we're talking about what makes a good film, and do we think that a film that, if it promotes a certain social justice or some moral aspect, do we think that it makes a good film, a quality film, or should we be basing it on the story?
I think that if you want to talk about what makes a good film, I think what makes a good film is good, unique, distinctive characters that seem real and a well-developed story that takes the characters through some type of development so that at the end you can feel satisfied knowing that there was a conflict that was resolved. Like in Beauty and the Beast was such a resolved conflict at the end that was set up at the beginning where you saw the Beast acting horrible at the beginning and he was terrible and you hated him when you first see him, and at the end where he's just sort of cowering there allowing Gaston to beat him up, you feel really bad for him because there was such this change that he went through, and then when he finally is turned back to the prince and the large choir is singing at the end, Beauty and the Beast, that's the best impression I can do of that, and it zooms out to the stained glass window, you feel such a satisfaction because these characters that seemed so real went through this big development and change and the conflict was resolved.
Well, I actually interrupt you for a second?
That's my best.
Oh, okay.
That and The Lion King.
Well, I was just going to say that there is a theory behind that from what you just said that a lot of Western people do not realize. When I was a guest speaker on MuggleNet Academia, the podcast.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We talked about something that I'd never heard of before, and it's called ring composition. And I actually blogged about this in my Danielle's Corner about Snow White.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yes, JD, have you ever heard of ring composition?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I've rarely met a person who has heard of it. You might not know the term, but you know what it is theoretically.
A really good example of that was I remember you talked about Monsters U.
Yes.
That was a perfect example because I remember feeling so good after that. Like you had just eaten a really big meal. You just felt so satisfied after that movie.
Yeah, I'll put the link to that post in the show notes. Basically what a ring composition is, it's when a story comes full circle. So, Eric keeps saying that he didn't feel satisfied at the end of Frozen. Quite frankly, I haven't studied Frozen enough as other Disney films, but I don't think it does come full circle. That being said, that doesn't make a good movie or not. But, psychologically, our brains will go to full circles. If you look at classic books like Narnia and Harry Potter, and to just bring a modern one in, The Hunger Games. In The Hunger Games, it's not as good as Harry Potter and Narnia, but they will bring in ring composition that will tie in the books to make it come full circle by the end. So, for example, and here's a Harry Potter spoiler.
Oh no!
We see the very first chapter is The Boy Who Lived, and the book ends with him living once again. It comes full circle. That his journey from baby to man, he was the boy who lived and he was the man who lived when he faced Voldemort with the killing curse and survived again. Right. I can't really go into too much of it in this, but read the blog I posted because I explained it more. But that is something where Beauty and the Beast, what Eric just said, is a perfect example, because we see in the beginning of Beauty and the Beast the stained glass prologue, and then it ends with stained glass.
Yeah.
That's just one of the many examples. I haven't studied Beauty and the Beast.
Something
for that.
I didn't notice about that movie when I was a kid, and this is something I didn't really understand as a kid, but I got now, was the whole transformation and scene at the end, why it is that the castle also transformed, that when the Beast was the Beast, the castle was this, like, really gothic-looking gargoyle heads, really dark architecture, and then when it transforms, when the Beast is transformed, the castle transforms with him and becomes all white, and the gargoyles turn into, like, angels.
Right.
And they show that, and it's just supposed to psychologically make you feel like that difference between the darkness and the lightness. And also, something I about that whole, just something small about the movie. I remember I read the original story just to see how much it was based on it, and it was pretty much, a lot of it was the same. One thing they didn't have was all of the servants being transformed into castle objects. That wasn't in the story, but that became such like an iconic part of that movie that I thought that was one of the most genius ideas. The idea that all of the servants became the castle objects, and they all, like the dog becoming the footstool, and Chip becoming the little teacup, Mrs. Potts, who's the motherly older woman, becoming the teapot, and when they transform back into their normal selves, they look like the objects. Mrs. Potts, the lid to the teapot was her hat. Cogsworth, his mustache was the hands of the clock that were on his face. And so things like that were just done, that they were just done so well, I thought. Another reason why I really liked that movie.
Not to get people confused also, that Eric's speaking of stylistic choices, that's not ring composition, what he's
That's
saying.
not.
Yeah.
The ring composition, we were talking about Monsters U, how at the beginning you see little Mike Wazowski going into the scream floor, and then at the very end it ends with him as an adult stepping onto the scream floor.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That was something that really makes you feel like, wow, yeah, it came full circle. He got to do what he wanted to do.
Right. JD, do you have an opinion on that? Because you've been kind of quiet for this
I was just letting you guys do your thing. But,
no, that's okay. That's okay. I didn't want to.
No, I was just letting you guys,
it,
because you guys had more to say about it than me on that one. But so are we just talking about like that whole full circle thing?
Yeah, or just what makes a good story? Is it like what it's going for?
I think
I'd say
it's a mixture of everything. I think it depends on how you're telling the story, what kind of story you want. Like, if you want your story to kind of be cartoony and not realistic, then you got to write it that way, as opposed to being realistic and grounded. It depends on, even something went down to the music, is important. So it all just depends on, I think, everything. It depends on the talent, the like, you can have, really, really good actors, and, just a terrible, god-awful movie. We've seen plenty of those. And then you can also have, maybe not the best actors, maybe not the best score, but just a fantastic film. So, or just something that withstands the test of time. So it just all depends, like, something like, say, Star Wars. It doesn't have, like, it really doesn't have, like, at the time, the best like, they're not the best actors in the world at the time. But, all the aesthetics and everything, and, like, the story, the story is as bare bones as it gets. Really.
Yeah.
It's oh, hey, there's a hero, and he's gonna go defeat X.
The hero and the elderly mentor.
Yeah.
It's a very classic setup that's been done a lot.
Anything you can think of is just, it's done already. There's nothing you can do, so you just have to jazz it up as much as you can.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So it's like
that's
can't do anything new.
Right.
Anything.
You can, but it's hard.
It's like, if you discover something new, I applaud you. Cause
see, here's the thing: is that I always think of this like old, and you have to stick with me here on this analogy. If you think of original Nintendo games, the very bareness of them was just, you had a character, go to the right, beat the enemies, and get to the end of the level. Yet there's so many classic good games on the NES that are so different from one another, despite the fact that they're all based on that. You pretty much do the same thing in every game. Why? Because the character is different, the story, the goal, motivation to it is different, the setting is different, so you don't think it's the same, even though it really is the same thing. So even though things are all the same, how you develop and show the characters, how you have the actors and cast them, how you have the show, the music and everything, makes them all is what makes their story specific to them and those characters. And also, if you think of, like, I always think of any good TV show it was just like they didn't have gimmicks like today on the Disney Channel. There always has to be some gimmick angle they take with any of their shows. Back when it was like Lizzie McGuire, what was it about? A family and a girl goes to school and has friends. Even Stevens, what was it about? A family and the two kids, and they go to school and they have friends, and it's just like what happens to them. But the reason that those shows are so different and you don't see them the same is because their characters are so specific, and the things that happen to them within that setting are so different and specific and well developed.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yep. That's an amazing analogy.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
It really is, because if you think about it, that's exactly, I think, why you keep bringing back Beauty and the Beast compared to Frozen, because there is a huge difference. I'm not going to go as far to say I did enjoy Frozen. I don't want it to seem that I don't like the film, but I do think that that is a really, really good point, that there's so much lacking from it, and I think the reason it is so beloved already is because of its very good marketing and very good choices.
Yeah,
to
I'll give them that. Yeah, they did in today's world. They made it in such a way that everybody was that they were gonna make a lot of money off of it, and people were gonna love it.
I think I saw this somewhere, and like somebody gave like their dad, I think, a copy of Frozen for his birthday or something like that, and he said, like, it wasn't the best story wise, some of the characters he didn't like and blah blah blah, but he just said the parts that they did that he liked, or the parts that were good, were really good. That was the best way he put it.
Well, there were, I forgot to mention it last our first podcast about this, but there were some scenes that I genuinely did really love. Yeah. And I just want to mention them real quick. I really loved the interaction between Anna and Elsa when they're little kids and they're skating in that little ice rink.
Those were kids.
That Elsa makes. And then I really loved the interaction the two of them have when Anna asks Elsa for her permission to marry Hans.
Yeah.
And that whole interaction, and even after that, like when she removes Elsa's glove, I think it's really well done. And the other one I really liked is when her and Kristoff first have their first conversation on the sled.
Yeah, that's funny.
I just thought it was so well done, but I don't think it was enough to me.
One part I thought that actually could have had a lot. It was like one of the only times that actually really hinted at emotional development without saying anything, and it was any type of character development, was when Anna goes into where Kristoff and Sven are sleeping to tell them, okay, you have to take me up the mountain, and then she comes back out and they have that music playing, and she's just, she like breathes a sigh of relief, and Kristoff and Sven are sort of looking at her like you can tell that there's something going between all of their heads, but they let their faces show it. Mm-hmm. I thought that's one part that I'll give them credit for. Yeah. I just wish they would have done more of it like that.
Right. Okay, moving out of that now, because we discussed that for a long time. Good conversation, though.
Oh, thank you.
Indeed.
So, last time we were talking about this idea that Frozen takes on the role of taking a female villain and redeeming her. And I couldn't think of it then, but Eric was saying, like, name one that has a male where it redeems the male character. And so after we were done recording our podcast, I did some research, Eric, and I wanted to name a few for you.
Oh, here we go.
Because there are some really good ones that we often overlook. I don't know why we do, but we don't look at it in the same way, I don't think.
Right.
So I had a whole list, and for some reason it's missing, but I had a really good list. But I remembered a few of them, and the ones I do remember are really awesome. So here's an obvious one. We just talked about this. Mr. Banks.
Yep.
Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly the same, but we've got it.
No, yeah.
Then, one that you both will know, Snape.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Redeemable. Yeah, right there. I mean, even Dumbledore, I'd say. Even Dumbledore. Because he's not the same as Snape, but toward the, I guess, like, 5th book, we see him sort of playing this game with Harry, almost. If you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, where he's moving more towards the good than Harry's well-being, I guess. But that's that wasn't on my list, but I just added that. And the other two, I know JD will be familiar with, because they're both from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this goes away from my expertise.
Yeah, we have, but you did see the first episode. I don't know if you remember, Eric. Drogo.
Maybe.
He's remember the blonde girl she marries? The guy from the tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Okay.
He looks like this very mean guy to begin with, and then he becomes we sort of like him before he dies. Oh, spoiler.
Oh no!
Well, okay, I'm just gonna assume that everybody's read Game of Thrones. But,
I would
okay,
hope
maybe
so.
I should. Yeah. And the other one from Game of Thrones is Jaime Lannister. I think that's a better example than Drogo, actually. Jaime Lannister most definitely is redeemed by the end. So, yes, those are my examples. I just thought I'd throw that in there because I like the guy stories, too. They're just as important as the girl stories. I do wonder, though, why we view them differently.
I think because there's just not as many for the girl ones yet.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming. They're starting to roll out. But it's just that, you know, it's like, man, it's like, yeah, you see it, but and in most cases, if you do hear that kind of story, maybe it wasn't done particularly well.
Okay. So now I'm going to bring in a bit of a controversial topic. And
Yeah, I know where we're going.
Yeah,
I know
where
we're going.
So, before we even recorded our Frozen podcast, the four of us were sitting down and talking about Frozen, and I brought this up, so I forget if you guys actually agreed with me or what, but not when I first saw Frozen, but maybe like a week or two after, it suddenly dawned on me, oh my gosh, Elsa totally represents, in my opinion, the gay experience. And I have an article here that I wanted to bring up to you guys because, you know, I'm not the only person apparently who has picked up on this sort of idea that Elsa could. I'm not saying Elsa is gay. I'm not saying that at all. But they're saying that her experience is really an allegory for people who do find themselves in that situation. And people have seen that for the better and then also for the worst. And one pastor, he has a little podcast, and his name's Kevin Swanson. And he claims that this movie, Frozen, will teach kids to be gay.
I don't.
It's not even possible.
I know.
They don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he says, let's see, let me read this article. He says, how many Christians are taking their kids off to see the movie Frozen? That's produced by an organization that is probably one of the most pro-homosexual organizations in the country.
That is like the literal opposite of Disney right there.
Well, his backing up of that was that Disney, when the whole Boy Scout thing happened, they took away their support.
Because they're smart businessmen.
Yeah, but that was his thing. Yeah.
They're pretty smart business people.
I don't agree with it either, yeah. But then he goes on to say, he says, I think this cute little movie is going to indoctrinate my 5-year-old to be a lesbian or treat homosexuality or bestiality in a light sort of way. I wonder if the average parent going to see Frozen is thinking that way.
No.
Yeah,
your answer is no.
Not even close.
And the title of his little podcast is Frozen is Gay Satanic Propaganda.
My God, he's not even trying. He's trolling. That's what it has to be.
No, yeah, he's just trying to get popular.
I found that so ridiculous when I heard about it.
Yeah, that's not even, doesn't even deserve a response.
Yeah, it's very, almost, it's very ignorant, I guess.
That's the correct word.
This other girl responded to it, saying that, she believes the movie has a gay agenda to normalize homosexuality.
I don't know about that either.
Exactly. I do think the Elsa thing is there as allegory, but I don't think that Disney, if they did put it there, they put it there.
On purpose.
Yeah, it either wasn't on purpose. I wouldn't think it would be on purpose.
No. I mean, if it's fine, if it's there, it's fine. That's
exactly.
good. but I don't. It wasn't on purpose. Not Disney. Not yet.
Exactly. That's what I think. Like, how could it be on purpose? I mean, I do think the allegory is very blatant. I think it's there, but I don't know. I don't think that Disney. I never felt that Disney was trying to shove this apparent thing down my throat.
If you want to make like an outside outside observation, like, oh, this can be compared to that, then you can. But I don't think that they were doing it thinking of that.
They weren't.
Right. And the thing is, it's all about, like, they just do that because they want to. I mean, obviously we're responding to it, and I brought it up, but they just want a response. Like, I can't imagine that they're thinking in their right minds, and if they are, I don't know what to say to that.
They probably are thinking in their right minds, which is the worst part.
Yes. Ah, good point. Yeah, it's, but I found that article, but I found another one that's completely on the opposite spectrum from another Christian, who basically says that, yes, this film is an allegory, as Elsa representing gay people, and that it's a good thing, but I don't think he says they intended it, though.
Right.
But, I mean, what do you guys, do you think that this could be an allegory? And leave out the fact that Disney may or may not have intended it.
I mean, the way that you talked about it before, you definitely could make the case for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I should say why, real quick, because I didn't say that to the listeners.
Yeah, I gotta explain it.
Yeah, Elsa, first of all, she's born or cursed with this power to create ice and snow. And this already hints at the fact that she was born with something that's different from the typical human being. And then she is told by her parents to don't feel her powers, because they're trying to hide them, they're trying to withdraw her from the world so that she can wrestle with these things alone. But however, this brings on secrets and a powerful sense of guilt, and she's losing a part of herself, and she doesn't really understand because this is all she knows. And then once she's an adult, she is still hiding. She's afraid that people are going to find her out, and then she reacts to their confrontations in a very, I guess, hostile manner, when really she's just afraid of what they're going to think of her. And that's the basic allegory about it. And when she's alone, and she sings her whole Let It Go, she's literally letting go of their judgment. So that's the whole thing behind it, and I do think it's there. But I don't think they intended it.
No, I mean, because it's like, that whole thing is, again, to bring up superheroes, it's the X-Men. Like, that's their whole thing. And if you want to be like, that is even more, because that's why Stan Lee created it, was for, to highlight that sort of thing, like being, like racism and homosexuality and those sorts of things. Mutants are an allegory for all of that. Right. So if you want to take it in that way, then yeah, you can definitely.
And I think art should do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should judge art based on what it's trying to tell us, but it's definitely a huge, part of looking at it.
Yeah.
And even if Frozen did intend it, I wouldn't fault them for it. It's a part of our culture today. I think they're just...
even so, they didn't throw anything in your face about it. Like, it was never... There was no center point that was like, oh yeah, something about being gay, and they threw it at, like, nothing. Nothing like that was in there.
Right, and also it's kind of hints back to what Eric was saying, that they're not making it obvious of relating to people. Like, it's a very internal struggle.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't... Again, and I want to keep saying this, I don't think they intended it. I don't think Disney is there yet.
No, they're not.
Yeah, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Alright, and then the final thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, I'll often watch Disney movies, and I don't know if my brain's just wired this way, I don't know. I often look for the Christian allegory in movies and Disney and stuff. And, what really stood out to me in this movie was Anna and Elsa most definitely represent these two crucial Christian ideologies and figures. And the first person, or the first character I want to discuss is Anna. Because even though she is very klutzy, she, in my opinion, she's the Christ figure of the film. We see this through her actions of sacrificing herself for Elsa at the end. This unaffected love, or that's the wrong word, unconditional love she has for her sister. Even though her sister has shunned her entire life, she still decides to go out into the woods to find her and protect her. And you see this love she has for people around her, this trust that is just, it makes her a Christ figure, in my opinion. And then Elsa we have as well, who would be our prodigal son figure, who is also the redemption figure of the story, where we see her fall in the beginning of the film, but then she returns and is immediately forgiven and is able to move on past the things she has done. Do you guys see that at all, or is that just me? Or what do you think of that?
I never saw it, but now that you mentioned it...
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
I can see where you would get that from. Yeah, but it's not anything I thought about now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just something that stood out to me. I like finding those things in Disney movies.
It's always good.
It's fun. And yeah, that's basically it. There's nothing else I have written down here, so...
I think we've talked Frozen to death here.
We have.
Yeah.
It's done now.
Yeah.
We need to let it go.
That was good. That was good.
No. Alright, we lost all our followers. We lost all 6 of them.
I'm the master of this episode.
No, they're all gone. We have to start again. We failed.
Guys, don't leave.
No, after that pun, they're leaving.
You guys know you love the puns, okay?
No.
You come back for the puns.
Nobody loves the puns.
They do. God. Well, okay, well, puns aside, then. I know they're very punny, but we can move on and let's move. We don't have a game this week, since it's more a bonus episode, but we will now move to our question of the week. So last week's question was from Prince Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked us, what other Disney movie / moment in Disney history would you like to see the company make a feature film about, similar to how they made Saving Mr. Banks? So, why don't we give it to you first, Eric, since you came up with the question?
I would want a movie made about the making of Disney World. The original first, like when they purchased the property and the early stages of making it and planning it out and their idea for it. I would want to see that, and I think a lot of people would want to see that.
Sequel to Mr. Banks, maybe?
Yeah. Because he died in 1965, and when did Disney World open? 1972? Something like that. 1972, because I was there for the 25th anniversary, which was summer of 1997, so 1972. Mm-hmm. And he died in 1965, and as we said on our last podcast, you can see in his office that and this is something my mom noticed, that you can see that he has a map of Florida with Orlando circled. Like, it was right around the time when they were in the early stages of planning it and, like, thinking about where they were going to purchase the land and everything. So I would want to see that, like, the transformation of Disney World.
That'd be cool.
What about you, JD?
Excuse me. I would want a movie about Pixar and the struggle of getting the first Toy Story movie, because there's a lot of things that happened.
Wow.
John Lasseter's rise from a Jungle Cruise operator to the head of Pixar.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. Yeah,
that would be a good movie, and just like the challenges of making the first ever like CG fully, animated film. What kind of challenges there were? Like how freaking hard that was. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Because I heard at one point they lost the data. I don't know if it was for Toy Story 1 or 2. I think it was 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they had to do it again,
sucks.
and they had to do it a lot faster because Disney was like, yeah, we want that, like right now. So it was, so I would just love to see a movie about that.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Oh, wow. I guess mine's kind of similar to that, then. I would like to have a film about the beginning of the Disney Renaissance. Because there's a documentary called Waking Sleeping Beauty. Sort of similar, but a little longer to the documentary I watched about the making of Mary Poppins.
Right.
And I would love to see the company in the 80s coming out of those really dark ages and making The Little Mermaid and and getting their animation, because their whole animation center was going to be shut down because
oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's incredible. I would love to see that as a movie.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That was our recap of last week's question. This week's question is brought to you by JD. So, well, what a funny laugh.
Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead and take it away.
If Frozen was made in the Disney Renaissance, how would it have turned out?
Ooh.
How do you think it would have turned out? How would it have been completely different, really? Would it have just been a clone of one of the other Disney Renaissance princess movies, or would it have been something completely different?
Ooh. I like this question.
And where do you think it would fit? Like, where do you think it would have been in the beginning, like Little Mermaid, or towards the end, like Tarzan? Yeah, so where in the Renaissance timeline, what do you think it would be?
Okay. Thank you, JD.
You're welcome.
So, listeners, if you want to answer that question, please do not hesitate. Visit our website. You'll see a post for our question of the week. All you need to do is comment on that. And if you want to give a short answer, you can tweet at us in 140 characters or less. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And maybe, obviously say @TalkMagicToMe, T-O, not the number 2. But also maybe put hashtag QOTW, question of the week. Just so that, well, I guess we have 6 listeners, so it could be a lot of answers, so that's why we need you to put the hashtag. And then, speaking of contacting us, please send us your zippity-doo-dah moments. Obviously, we didn't talk about those this episode because we already did it last episode. But next week, we're going to be talking about Pinocchio, as I said. So, tweet at us, maybe with the hashtag #ZipMoment, and tell us your favorite moment from Pinocchio, and you will most definitely be read on the show. There's no denying that. Tweet at us. You can comment on our episode posts on our website. You can write to us on Tumblr.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. Talk Magic to Me.
Yes, and YouTube. And all those links are on our website, which is www.talkmagictome.com. And that's the number 2. And as I said last episode, be sure to put the www because it will not load. It will take you to a GoDaddy page, which you don't want to see. You want to see, the actual Talk Magic to Me website. So the www will help you with that. So you can keep in contact with us those ways. Another thing is please rate us on iTunes, as we mentioned in the beginning of our episode. It really helps us a lot when you rate and review us. Give us 5 stars, because when you wish upon 5 stars, your wishes come true, your dreams come true. Everything is happy.
Yeah.
And rate and review us on iTunes, and that's about it. I don't think, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's all she wrote right there.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm missing something, but okay. That's it for our bonus episode of Frozen. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We had a bit of discussion about things and kind of veered off topic, but I think we had a very good discussion today.
Yeah.
Even though we're missing Jen.
No, that's okay.
We miss you, Jen. Come back.
Yes. Yes. Come back next episode.
Yeah. Missing all this fun.
Yeah, we did have fun. So that's the end of our episode. From all of us at Talk Magic to Me, I'm Danielle.
I'm Prince Eric.
And I'm DJ JD. Signing off.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Peace.
Bye. What's that?
Gone! Oh, sorry, I'm watching the Phillies game. Sorry. Ryan Howard just hit a home run. Well, he hit that a ton. He hit that really far. No, cut that out of the podcast.
Nah, that's staying in there.
No.
Be a
dude,
yeah, that's a blooper
that might be.
right
Yeah,
there.
you can. Yeah.
That was really funny. I was like,
I couldn't tell
like,
because
what?
where the camera showed, you couldn't see the ball where it landed. You just saw it not land anywhere, so I just assumed that it was out.
Very nice.
No,
Go
so
Phillies!
Phillies are up
That's
3-0 right now.
All right.
Yay.
Ooh, that was off a lefty too. Ryan Howard's usually terrible against lefties.
Welcome to our baseball podcast, everybody.
Oh yeah,
We
used
talk
to
about
love it.
Frozen and baseball.
Baseball.
Okay, so back to Frozen.
Yes.
We were talking about Batman actually.
Yeah.
Back to
Well, we
Batman.
were, yeah. We're bringing it all in today. Okay?
Well, it all relates to it, so it makes sense.
It really does. I love when they do like alternate personalities on podcasts like that.
It's fun.
Because I listened to a Game of Thrones one, and this one guy, Micah actually from MuggleCast, Eric.
Micah,
He'll-
yeah.
He'll impersonate Sam, the fat boy from
Yes.
Game of Thrones,
Yes.
and he'll be like this. Oh hey guys, what's up? I'm Sam.
Sounds like Michael
Like-
Cera.
Yeah. Eric, did you take your headphones off? I think he went to the bathroom.
Okay. We'll hold it.
Let's take a break for a
Yeah.
second. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I can hear myself.
I will bring up a new topic that will be very juicy once he gets
Oh,
back.
juicy.
Juicy.
Ooh.
Like the gum.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm back.
Juicy
That's
like
okay.
the gum. Oh,
Juicy
man.
fruit.
Couldn't have just said juicy. You were just like, juicy like the gum. Mm.
I was gonna say juicy like the fruit, but then I was like, well, juicy fruit is a
Yeah,
gum.
you
so
juicy like the fruit. That's the
gum.
whole thing.
I don't know. I'm trying to change things up.
No.
I'm trying to be my own
Sometimes
person.
you gotta leave the good things as they are.
Okay, no, just kidding. Okay. Are we ready to... Oh. Somebody's hyped up.
Amped.
Are you... Lucky?
good. You'll be in my heart.
I just bought the album to that movie.
You'll be in my heart.
Okay, so that ends our Fronus... Fronus?
Fronus!
You got the Jonas Brothers on your
Yeah,
mind.
you combined everything.
I combined...
What was that?
It's like
I was
Froyo plus
Yeah.
the Jonas Brothers.
I
That
was
was
trying to
funny.
say I was trying to say Frozen bonus episode.
I'm not even
And I said-
mad.
Frozen yogurt episode.
Yeah, frozen yogurt. That's what it feels like
Fronus.
now. That we've talked it all out of Frozen, so now it's frozen yogurt.
It is frozen
Yeah.
yogurt.
Okay.